Greetings, fellow travelers, and welcome to the Way of the Showman, where we view the world through the lens of showmanship. I am Captain Frodo, and I will be your guide and gracious host along the way. Today, it is only a few days when this episode airs. It'll only be a few days until I jump on a plane and fly all the way to Adelaide, Australia. It's been 5 years by now since I was there. It's an odd turn of events that I will be looking into a little bit more in a upcoming episode, as has happened the last few years. The last 2 years I have released an episode on the 12th of March, which is the shared birthday of the pandemic and of yours truly. So I will look back at that odd the curl and the sidestep and all what happened when the pandemic came, and now, at least in Norway, we are well and truly through the pandemic. People are getting sick, but it is not like it has been. So there is it's basically back to how it always was. Who would have thought? But today we're going into the third and final part for now of our exploration of the ingredients of comedy. Today we look at rapid escalation, rule of three, abstract connection, opposite outcome, and misunderstandings, and lots more. And we go in all sorts of directions as we search for funny examples and all of that. And I, for one, have found this conversation really interesting, and I have found myself listening as in editing it again. I have been finding myself being pulled in again and again to the many whims and or shady whims and obstacles that appears along the way as we freestyle our way through this awesome list of comedic ingredients. So, without further ado, let's jump back into the final list, or the final bits on the recipe list of ingredients for comedy.
The next one is rapid escalation. And whenever this one, I think your act is, the tennis rackets is a classic example of this, of like when things get more and more out of control quickly. It's funny. It's funny. I think the eyebrow gag is what they call it in vaudeville sometimes, where there's like someone putting on a makeup and they do one eyebrow and then they do the other eyebrow and then they're like, oh no, that one's a little bit bigger, so I make that one bigger. Oh no, that one's bigger. And then chunk, 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 until they've got like really thick eyebrows. I just call that one, and it's pretty common as well, rapid escalation, I call it.
Yeah. And it's like you have the two clowns who are having an argument, and then all of a sudden it goes from being this thing to one having the big hammer, and it's it's like going, and then just this, you can just go, oh, that escalated quickly, didn't it? It's already funny now, the Tom and Jerry kind of thing, where they go ching 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 ching, all of a sudden there's like atomic bombs and everything is just it's and
it's kind of got its own category because it doesn't fit into any of the others, which is truth.
Yeah, I mean, you can do it in a verbal joke as well, where you sort of go, you set one thing and then you tell the story, and then it just, you have a string of events or whatever, and it's funny just that it got sort of out of hand, and like two neighbors who had a conflict or whatever, and then it just got with that 60-meter fence and guard dogs and I don't know. Yeah.
The old thing, the juggling clubs gag, where you drop one and then I think that's kind of the same.
Yeah. It starts as a little thing and then it gets more like, first it's just you drop one slipping down and then it goes, and then all of a sudden it's just a chaos, and then that's right, and all there, and then you pick them all back one by one, and then you can all of a sudden hold them normally again, and it's just a rapid escalation of he's trying to hold 7 clubs or whatever.
Yeah, and so it's kind of related to slapstick in a way, I think, this one, but it can again like be not related to slapstick as well.
Yeah, it's just anything that that grows quickly in size or whatever. Like it's you know, that tie that you can buy. It's just basically like a 8 meter long tie or whatever, and you can tie it, and then you just fix it a little bit, and you pull it, and it's just very long, and it's just,
Okay.
you just
Yeah.
and it's just
Yeah.
long, and then at the end you have a long tie or whatever, and it's like all of this is happening, and you go and then yeah. It's anything that's definitely a thing that you can go, oh well, you can ask yourself that question. You're going at any time, you're going, is there any way we can sort of escalate this? Abruptly halt it.
I mean, exaggerating, the one like where we exaggerate is a really common everyday joke we make, where we're like, you know, it's going to take me 30 days to clean up this. That's right. I think that's rapid exaggeration falls into the category of rapid escalation, because it gives people that thing going on in their brain.
In a sense, you could probably do like it's a mode of sort of pointing into like you can point into the future. What would be the worst thing that could happen in this thing, and what would be the least thing that could happen or whatever. So by just thinking, okay, this is the middle of this, and we often find ourselves doing and behaving in a medium kind of way, where sometimes just like being very irate or extremely lethargic is already like saying the same stuff but doing it like that, and just being like all casual, like hey guys, I'm gonna do a show. Already it's like, oh, what is this? Like this is inappropriate amount of something. Oh, I'm so tired. It's like, after a trick, and then you go and then you take that to the nth degree, and you just lie down and have a nap.
That's right. So it's related to sarcasm a little bit in that way, but then it's taking it further and further, which people find funny, you know, like if you if you're tired and you just kept exaggerating your body movements till you're just dragging yourself along the ground, snoring.
And lying with your face on the ground, and you're just trying to do it, and but like then that rapid escalation is funny in itself. It's just it's almost like you're doubling down on that thing. It can start as a truth moment, and then if you choose to just continue on going with it, at some point it will get funny again. Like if you go, I'm so tired, and then at some point it will just be so, and then go, that, and then you get up and you just go, that's escalated quickly, and then there's
and then the last, well, I've got two more actually. One of them, so the last one is rule of three. It's also a pretty common one we know of. And it does relate to a lot of other ones, but it has its own thing. Like, it can be big to small or fish out of water. I mean, maybe it's just fish out of water. I'm not sure. But the gag which came to mind that I used to do was, that is a classic example of this, is I used to do this routine, the magic trick where you get the 3 different size ropes and make them all the same size. And Cecil used to do the routine about the wriggly white goat worms. He called them, it was these sort of fictional worms, and a story about them. But he would say one of them was called Shorty because he was so short. The other one was called Longy because he was so long. And the third one was called Alfred. It's just a classic rule of 3. And it's because of opposite outcome, fish out of water, big to small. Like, I'm not sure, but it's so strong by itself, that same, different.
But like they made the song, 3 is a magic number. There's a repetition in fairy tales. It's this brother, and then there's that brother, and then there's the brother who did this, who the story is about, and it's the third brother, or it's the 3. There's 3. Like, that is certainly a thing in itself, and I would maybe argue that that's I don't know. I don't know if that is true, but I mean, if you could take that thing and probably apply it to all the other ones, and it could be the mode of presentation of taboo is to go, I like
the third one would be a taboo.
sometimes I like to scratch my balls or whatever, and then that's 1, 2, 3, and it might be funnier because like if everybody can scratch their elbow, can you reach to scratch your head on the opposite side?
Yeah.
Can you reach your balls from the behind the back? And then that's totally inappropriate, and it's I don't know.
No, that's a classic example, because if you just ask people if they can scratch their balls, it's not funny.
No, but because you put it in the 1, 2, 3, and it's got some sort of escalation, or it goes then 1, 2 taboo, or it's like
I like that 1, 2 taboo.
Or can you, or 1, 2 taboo? Oh yeah, that's a funny thing. But like go okay, so get everybody scratch here, and then can you scratch yourself under the arm, and can you scratch your chair? That's also like it's not as funny, but in the right situation, that's now you're dealing with. I guess that's absurdity or something like that. But just the fact of the 1, 2, 3 is funny.
A perfect example, because that goes to my last one, which I skipped before, which is abstract connection. Which is a little bit like fish out of water, but like you're saying about like scratching your chair, and then you're like, if you escalate that and like then put some eczema cream on your chair and spend a fortune at the skin therapist for your chair, that type of thing could be funny, because you're just combining these two things which aren't connected with another thing to make them connected. That has an inherent comedy thing. It's like fish out of water, but it's not quite, because fish out of water is it's its own. There's something about that, like what you said about absurdism, or like a lot of Monty Python is this combining two things which aren't connected and then mucking around with them more, I think. And working with them is more abstract connection, rather than fish out of water is more of a one-off.
Yeah. An abstract connection starts out as, I don't know about this, but then because you persist and because you manage to then either just escalate it, it's like, I like to scratch my... Oh, it's like, it's so nice to be able to scratch your head when you do that or whatever. And then sometimes when I get home, I just scratch my chair as well. Or if you do that in threes, and then I go and I scratch it and go, which is so good because sometimes it actually has a sort of rash. You see here, it's like, I'm not sure if that's because I have scraped off the stuff. Well, that's pilly or whatever. But I bought this eczema cream and I put that on. That's why the chair is so slippery. Wow.
Yeah, that's classic. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's actually, it is, and it's some of the comedy that because I was brought up on Monty Python and stuff, for some reason, I really do find that stuff very funny.
Yeah.
Personally.
True, it's like the abstract connection and the fact that you move on and then you go and sit on that chair and it's got so much eczema cream on it that you're slipping out of it. And now that thing is like a whole sort of weird thing, and if you then bring back the scratching again or whatever, then it's different than fish out of water, because it can start as so that it's with a fish out of water, but it becomes an abstract connection if you persist with that and show that they are maybe related. And I also have this, like, in terms of why that's so funny or why that's so good or rewarding, I also think, like, often say it's like, if you think you have two ideas for acts, one good strategy is to take and do both of those acts at the same time. Then you end up with acts that are really good. And there will be some low-hanging fruit that will be immediately funny, just and easy to go, I see how juggling and toilet accessories, like being a plumber, whatever, like, and some of those will be funny. You're immediately going, you could do this. But when you persist in working with it, and then you find the connections that are not the easiest one you find, the ones that you first think, this is why it isn't funny or why it isn't a good idea. When you then manage to find something to tie that together, that's when I have these real sort of aha moments, whether you're working with, I'm working with someone, or I'm doing it for myself. You go, oh my God, this is it. This is I think of it sometimes as the adjacent possible. It's like you just found this realm of connection that was, you can only get to it because you've made the first step, put it together, then you've done 3 or 4 little gags that is the stuff that comes up when you combine tennis with squeezing through rackets or whatever. Or and then you get to that next level, you're going, oh, it's the slapstick is on top of that happening at the same time.
Yeah.
That's when it goes, oh, there's a whole thing here. And you needed to get to it so that the abstract connection, it starts out weird, but it's when you persist with it and you then get into this other domain, which Monty Python would so often do, whether it would be parrot sleeping or it's like it starts out just quite simple. It's just a guy that claims that a parrot, which is clearly dead, is actually sleeping, and we know it's not true. But that thing, then it becomes funny, maybe in another way, which brings me to this idea. Like, a friend of mine had an LP of Monty Python, and we were listening to it, and I had this sort of epiphany or like this crazy moment where they, at the end of that performance that they did, the audience starts to chant for the parrot sketch.
Right, I think I've heard this.
Sketch. Yeah, and then they go, oh, okay, they do it, and I thought, this is completely unheard of in comedy, that they say to Bill Hicks, oh, do the bit about George Bush.
Yeah.
It's quite the same. Or like you say to the comedian, you do those jokes that you did in that other show. Please do those, because it's something in there that doesn't, like, comedy doesn't normally translate to that kind of, you don't call out for, please tell me this joke. Like you do it with a song, but you did it with a comedy of Monty Python, because it's the execution of it and this abstract connection and the presentation of this abstract connection, just the absurdity of it makes it still really enjoyable. And why we can watch that again and again and again, while you can't necessarily watch, I don't know, you can watch stand-up in that same way. That's because some of the expectation is...
No, it's definitely true. Like that type of sketch is, I think it's because it's, I don't know why actually. It definitely bears a lot more repetition than like a classic change of context gag where you know what the punchline is. But I mean, some circus acts as well. I know, like, me and Bronte do this act where it's our Adagio act, where we come out with like this sort of Chinesey sort of music playing, and we both have like black robes on, and we just play super serious. And all the gags are like, they're funny gags, but people will watch. They love to watch that act. They'll watch it again and again. And I'm not sure why, but it's got, I don't know why some things bear that repetition and sometimes they don't, but I think it's got more to do with the execution of it, and sometimes it's got to do what we started out talking about, like where it really is the character that people love. And something like the parrot sketch really is the way that they intonate those gags and everything. It's more than, and it is true brilliance, because it's not just the material. Your material can be good, but that's not really enough. You know, you have to have your timing right. You have to have intonate the words properly, or look at in a certain way, or have the right body language for it to be, which is connected to clown as well. You know, it's a twinkle in your eye, or a sense of play that it almost can't be taught as well. That thing, it only comes from like pure natural ability or a lot of experience, I think, to create.
That's exactly. Either you have you can be born with it to some extent, but the true brilliance of it comes with you're actually a master of that. Like you're a master of the craft, and you get that from these performers, like with John Cleese or whatever, where the subtlety of these guys, how they interact, and the absurdity and the commitment to the absurdity. That's the fictitiousness of it, and all those things. It's like it makes it so funny.
Yeah.
I don't know. It connects a little bit also to my friend Søren Østergaard, who runs Circus Nemo, who does improvisation, and basically all his acts is that he's got no real skills. It's like one of his brilliant characters is the guy who measures, it's the measure man.
Nice.
And he does the measuring, and he just has a measuring tape, and mainly it's just talking, and it's kind of, and he's improvising and doing, and it's just like, my mum watched him do it when she came down to see it, and she said, yeah, for a moment there, I kind of had to like cover my ears and stuff because I was getting anxious because I couldn't breathe. I was laughing so hard that it was almost becoming like I'm getting a little bit afraid because I can't actually draw my breath. This is so funny.
Yeah.
But the guy is doing kind of nothing. But what Circus Nemo is a gorgeous black and red tent. The wagons are like restored traditional circus wagons in wood and that from 30s, 60s, 70s. Beautiful, each one individually, all painted to be, and the fence is a wooden fence around everything about it on grass, a stone throws away from the beach. We're at these gorgeous places, and then all of this, he was sort of saying, yeah, I set up all of this so that when I get onto the stage and do nothing, or I'm so stupid or so ridiculous, and he does half of the show pretty much or whatever, then you go when everything is so beautiful and so lavish, and the trucks and the tent and where you go in, when everything, and then you present this complete idiocy on there. You know that it's like Picasso. He knows how to paint. We saw his early paintings. He can paint whatever he wants. So he doesn't make the funny faces now because that's all he can do. He paints it because he wants to express something very specific, and then you look at it in a whole nother way.
Yeah, no, it's so true. It's I agree. It's
thing too. They're like that with Monty Python. They're on TV, British TV. That it's all so serious. It's BBC. It's this thing which is just like, well, this is the BBC, and the apocalypse has been going on for a long time, so it hasn't interrupted the cricket, which is of course one of the great tragedies. But mustn't grumble. We will pick it back up as soon as the second coming is done. Like, you expect them to always be the serious kind of guy, and then these guys come out, and it's just the most absurd thing that you could ever imagine. And
it's a bit of fish out of water there, as well, in what you're describing.
But that's right. I guess I'm just trying, like, what's this? That is so funny about people when they're being so ridiculous
and serious at the same time. In a way, that can be very. You don't want someone being ridiculous. It's not funny if they come out and say they're going to be ridiculous and then they're ridiculous. It's only funny if you. And I've got a few other ones here, but just remind me of them, which I think they fit into some of the other categories, but I couldn't work out how. And one of them is opposite outcome.
Yeah.
It's kind of like fish or water, but like, you know, if you say, and it's kind of like the doorbell gag and irony as well, maybe, but it's pretty useful as a tool. So if you set up for one thing to happen in a show and the opposite thing happens, it's a pretty good general comedy. Yeah,
that's right. That's right. It's like it's a magic trick where one thing is supposed to happen and this thing is supposed to levitate. It's going to levitate and then it tips over and falls on the ground. And that's like, then that just the fact that the opposite thing happened is. And if you then do that with the three and then it doesn't levitate, falls on the ground, and then it levitates, then you got yourself some.
That's right. Yeah. So that's a good combo. Misunderstandings. There's something about misunderstandings which are inherently funny. Like often I'll tend to misunderstand something. And I think it relates to stupidity, clumsiness, and humanity in general. Of all those things, share something that we love. Like we love to just pretend to misunderstand something. It's like one of my favorite jokes. It's like change of context, but it's layering a level of pretend stupidity on top, where it's like not a very funny joke. Example would be like, "Can you call me a taxi?" And someone says, "You're a taxi." Like they're pretending to misunderstand you, pretending to be stupid, and changing the context all at the same time.
Yeah. You tell the people, can you say the count 1, 2, 3, and you go, who said, where's my ski? Who was that? And you just misheard it, and it's already kind of funny, and the kids laughing because nobody actually said it, or like right, any kind of misunderstanding or mishearing or
clumsy.
I mean, I guess that
and if you combine them with taboo, these ones are pretty funny. Like if the misunderstanding and you heard like Big Dicky when the guy said Big Tricky or whatever, like then it can be really
and I guess it's like that might also be like the core of the banana bandana gag as well, where the guy goes just like just for the context for those who might not know it.
Yeah, and he built the whole, like, a massive routine off it, and that's the starting point.
Yeah. Or you think of Carl Einar?
Yeah.
Carl Einar, yeah. I mean, that trick is a magic trick that you buy in the store. You know that.
Yeah.
He actually just does it as it says in the
Okay.
Yeah. I saw that first time, and it wasn't new then, but I saw it first time with David Copperfield's, that might have been in the end of the 80s. David Copperfield, a famous magician, did that trick sort of as a parody of Jim Neighbors. What is his name? Would you be mine? Would you be mine? Would you be my neighbor? What's his name? Mr. Rogers.
Yeah.
So he did it as a parody for that, and he did that thing going, "Hi, today we're going to learn a magic trick." He has a very nice voice, that American character.
Yeah.
Children. Brilliant guy anyway.
Yeah.
But that's like the whole joke there is that it's a misunderstanding. You start doing stuff with a banana that should have been done with a bandana. That's also then this abstract connection in a weird way, because you start to when he says, like, the first thing, banana bandana, it's shot of water or whatever, and then it goes in to go, and you can palm it, and he's just holding the banana in the hand, and then by the time he goes and fold the banana in half and fold it again, by that point it's now hysterical, because you're going now into the abstract connection.
Yeah, abstract connection, escalation. And I like that, actually, you made the connection of that it's abstract. Yeah, that becomes abstract connection. It also occurred to me that maybe misunderstandings and clumsiness and stupidity are actually a form of slapstick. They're like a verbal or acted type of slap. Like, it's not a physical mistake.
True.
But you are making yourself seem a bit stupid or pretending to be stupid. So in a way, that's all a form. That is a form of slapstick. But I've also, in these categories, I was like, I want to boil them all down. But then I was like, hang on, you don't want to boil them down too much, because then you won't have anything to work with. You'll just be like, there's only one joke left there.
It's like if you've got it's the universal theory of everything. It's like going, it's the universal joke. It's just one joke, and everything is like that. And then you go, but now you have abstracted it so much that it's not actually valuable anymore.
That's right. Yeah.
The tool.
Yeah. So you need a little bit of detail. But I still want to get them to like a nice round number. So it's not it's not too much. The only other ones I've got are like trickery. Tricking people is funny. Like, if you like the classic gag you do where you're getting you're walking along and the audience is clapping for each step, and then you stop I couldn't really think of any other reason. Maybe it's surprise or opposite outcome, but essentially just tricking people is funny. Or can be.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. It's also, that goes in. Yeah, you trick somebody, like it's like, I always think of when you're doing comedy magic, the cheapest way to do it is just to show how you did the trick. Then people laugh because it looks like, oh wow, that's weird, and then everybody goes ah.
Yeah.
But until you show them that it's a band, it's magic and it's very beautiful and mysterious. But it's something. But that's maybe a different. That's not this category. That's it's like the step. I tricked you. Yeah. That
I think it's similar.
it's similar.
It's
like I trick. Yeah. Yeah, it's like this kind of thing. You show them like that, and then you show them that, and then they laugh. It's I tricked you. Yeah. You thought that it was it's magnetic. You can't get it off like that, and then you do this. And it becomes magic again when you take that off and go, see, I was just using this, but this continues to hang. Then then it's a different thing again or whatever. Yeah. Huh.
Then there's like subtext. Sometimes it's very funny when you say one thing, or if you just lie blatantly. That is sometimes very funny as well. Some of these I don't really understand, but we're just sort of talking about jokes going like that. Like, yeah, just lying blatantly. If you come in and you're sopping wet and someone says it's raining and you say no, then it's obviously raining.
That's it.
Yeah.
But it's true. Like if you just totally lie as well, that's funny.
Yeah.
Exactly. And when they know it, then I do that with kids. Sometimes I bring them up and they're going, yeah, I do it when I said, and this kid, I do it when I have a music box that they're going to play, and I say, now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to bring up a very special artist, and she's actually toured all the way around the world playing this beautiful music, and I get her up and going, and she's been playing Bangladesh and Kopavik or whatever, really nearby town, a couple of big places and a small, rule of three. And then I go, and she's been having concerts with standing ovations and all this. And there's probably a lot of people now who wondering what kind of instrument is it that she plays. For instance, I know that little Anna here, she's wondering what kind of instrument it is. But anyway, I'm obviously lying and then revealing that I'm lying, but I'm saying all this great stuff and she's laughing, or sometimes they just stand there like, because they don't, it's like this talk has got nothing to do with me. And I'm like going, and everybody knows it's not true. I just make completely exaggerated hyperbole or whatever. And it's funny and people laugh, or if not, it's at least amusing. If it's not, like there's a couple of laughs in there, or whatever. Going for us today, or whatever, and then they don't know, so they might say something or whatever, and then I go, actually, they are, but maybe first you can play this or whatever. But that's an example where I bring somebody up and then I tell something. I do the same thing when I do a snake charming act, which is just a balloon that comes out of a basket but I say that she's a famous snake charmer and she just got back from Czechoslovakia, which is not an easy feat in itself, that being a country that ceased to exist already 30 years ago, where she won the gold medal in snake charming, and here she is. And then I give her a thing to play, or him, whatever I brought up. And everybody knows it's not true. And then there's just a balloon that comes out of a basket, and I'm just going, and she's going to stand here and play, and we all will play like this on our knees, and I will stand over here, and I'm walking over with a hose and a balloon. I will stand over here and do absolutely nothing. Go. And then she starts to play, and I'm just pumping it up, and everyone can see it, and the snake is coming out, and then I go over and it's like, oh, look, it's crazy. And I undo the thing and it flies around the room. And it's a whole act. There was no snake, and everybody knows it's a balloon with two eyes on it. And
Yeah.
It flies around the room, and everybody gives her, because it was just a big theater thing, and there was no snake, and there was no. She never went to Bangladesh or wherever.
Yeah.
So that's a form of lying, but lying is also a form of pretending or playing as well.
Yeah, it's true, and I think that it's also a little bit like opposite outcome and related to irony and things like that. But it also sort of stands on its own because sometimes that's purely all you have to do is lie blatantly, and it's funny. And I think that's about all I've got.
That's very good.
There's one more, which is called Talking Cow. Strange Universe, which is based. Some of these were just like where we were spitballing jokes and trying to fit them in, and went, "Oh, that joke doesn't fit in. It must have its own thing." And that last one is the joke about like the guy breaks down and next to a cow paddock, and then one of the cows starts telling him how to fix his car, and so he goes up to the farmer and he's like, "You've got a bloody talking cow down there," and he was like, "Oh, you're talking cow, just helped me fix my car." And he's like, "Oh, is that Betsy?" And he went, "Yeah, she did say her name was Betsy." And the farmer's like, "Don't listen to her. She doesn't know anything about mechanics."
Yeah.
That, I mean, maybe it's changed the context, but I just called it Strange Universe because I'm not sure or maybe it's the tip of the iceberg as well, a little bit, but it just puts you in this place where it's a strange universe where talking cows exist. I don't know.
Yeah, or that guy is just really dumb as well. Like he can't see past the fact that, like, he is worked up and going, "Oh, did he tell you that you should put the fan belt on?" Like, yeah, that's not gonna last. So he's getting hung up on whether the advice that the cow gave you was mechanically sound or not, whilst he's like, the fact that there's a cow that has anything to say about combustion engines is already why are we having this conversation.
Yeah, that's even funnier if that guy, like, the guy has stopped is actually, if he goes on that same track of going, "But this is a cow that knows about combustion engines. Most of them are still like, most of them only know about bikes," or whatever. Like, that type of thing. But I think you're right. It's related
then it's Strange Universe. If he goes, it's like, they go, "Oh, don't listen to her. She knows nothing at all about combustion or whatever." They're going, "Yeah, but she knows about combustion engines." That's so weird because cows normally only knows about bikes. Then it certainly becomes a strange universe, because now you didn't expect that either. Like, because now it keeps reversing it as well, but it's also in this sort of absurdism.
Abstract connection. Yeah, it could be related to that one as well.
Reminds me of that gag, that Far Side, Gary Larson, where it's just one picture and it's just divided into two, and the cows are all standing and chatting, standing on their back legs, and one cow down the bottom, it goes, "Car," and then the next picture they're all down eating grass again, which is like, it's just what happens when you aren't looking at them. Then they're all behaving like normal people.
Yeah, I think that one, I can't think of anything else except Strange Universe that.
Yeah, me too.
As well, yeah. I mean,
very, very good. It's what an interesting conversation to talk about jokes and mention some jokes in between, but like just looking at the structures of them, it is a very useful thing to have talked through and to boil down. And I guess the next step would be to kind of how a dictionary is set up, where it has the what it means, the first meaning and second meaning or whatever, and then examples. Like, that's how dictionaries work. So to sort of like have
Yeah.
have a couple of example jokes first, like just what it is, and then explain it, the kind of words, and then give a couple of different examples of, because some of them is even like words, they have like 3 different meanings or whatever, so you might have to have examples to show, because this joke can be used this way or that way, or like when we looked at trickery, it's like, just come up with good examples for it.
And the sub combinations and subcategories, and then maybe like a few families, you sort of have a family with other ones, and then overlap things. It could get quite complicated, but I think it's
it's like it's almost like a funny thing. It's like on where there's the 7 jokes or whatever, and all the others or whatever. Like there's like, you find this like the 10 structures of jokes, and the rest or whatever. Like there's some comment on why it isn't 10 or so, because there are, I don't know how many this ended up being, but like some of it you can boil down, and some of it can also be that you have like, these are the 10 that I will go through. This is not an exhaustive list, but 10 structures of jokes, or whatever. And then you go within there, you go, and this can break down into several subcategories, and this doesn't fit at all. So there is like, it's not that these are the 10, but if you're going to do it, talk to someone already now, we've spoken for 2 hours or so just about this, and then you could probably get more by just having better examples of 10 or 7.
It's a bit like music in a way. Like there's only 12 notes, but you can combine them in an infinite, if you include rhythm and having certain harmony and stuff, like you can combine them in pretty much an infinite amount of ways, and still be interesting and funny, or combine them and not create anything at all. But just working out what they are to begin with is a really good place to start.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly right. It's like, to be able to master something, like let's say he's going to go with the music thing. If you're going to learn how to play the banjo, like you first need to know, if you're ever going to learn some music, you need to know the notes, what they are. You need to know some certain relations, and then you know some scales, and you know all of that. And then once you have that, then you need to learn the actual piece that you're going to play, and by doing it 1,000 times, so that when you do it one time, it can go. But then once you've done all of that, you almost need to sort of forget about it. You can't be going like, oh, did I go to the G or the C? Because then the song is broken when you did that.
That's right.
So you need to know that stuff first. And of course, you can always be autodidact and you can just do everything. But the chance then is sometimes people, if you don't know your history, or you don't know the theory of something, you can sometimes spend a very long time working out something, and then somebody sees it and they go, oh, that guy already made that song, or this person already did this art form. And you are Johnny come lately to this game, and you're not as well developed as this person. And you go, yeah, but I invented this. And you're going, yeah, but it's a bit like, it's too late to invent the light bulb now, because it's already invented, even if you genuinely did it. Like it's too late to invent a car, because it already exists.
No, it's a really good point. You do certainly have to, and there's no magic recipe for funny either, and part of it is just having fun. Because there's no, like when I was telling Gwyn, my son, about this, he was like, but Dad, like you meet people that just think the lines on the road are funny. And there's some truth in that, but if you talk to them, there'd probably be some of this in it. Like they would be like, oh no, I find them funny because of this. And that would boil down to them perceiving one of these ingredients in the lines on the road.
I mean, and if not, then you can put out a call on the internet and see, is this a new category perhaps, that some people just find it funny when lines on the road, which is a pattern which never changes, that the potential expectation that maybe your expectation is it's going to be broken. That's a that's funny, but the fact that it never does, that's, I don't know.
Yeah. There's something in the repetition, that the old joke of something like, if something isn't funny, you know, that one, like, something's funny. If you repeat something, it becomes funny, but then it stops being funny. But then at one point, it then starts being funny again.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
You know, there's that thing as well, which maybe has its own. But that, I think that sort of delves into that absurdism.
Yeah. Broken expectation. That's funny too. Like, I know, but I don't know which one of them that is. It's like
that's the three, and big, and that's big to small, and the rule of three.
Yeah. I like that it's like that thing you're going, or you get a magic trick and then the opposite happens. That's also like a broken expectation, or like, do you think something's going to happen? So yeah, I just realized, as I said that thing with broken expectation, I kind of went, oh, this is something that I sometimes use when I'm thinking or talking about this, as in that's a thing, but it's already kind of been covered. So
yeah, but it's also useful to define them in different ways, the same, bizarrely, because it helps you to identify things which present in different ways. It's so weirdly subjective what's funny and what isn't. You never really know whether it's going to be funny until you try it, as you know.
Yeah. But what I find is there's this thing where when you have just learned a new word or whatever, and all of a sudden you start to hear it more in conversation, and you go, I never knew about this thing, and here that word is, and you go, has it always been there and it's just sort of gone under the radar because I don't know what it means, or whatever. And often what I then think, it's like all that it does is that it readies you to all of a sudden you need to use that word, but it's because you now know that it's there, and then you can use it. Maybe these if you listen to this conversation and you take the notes and you look at the different things and you think it through, next time you go out and perform, or next time you're at a party and you are having a conversation, some of these things will just pop up and you'll see them as an adjacent possible, where you go, oh, if I go in there now, like I add the third time, and I just say something completely different because this guy just said two things, and now I say something, almost whatever it is that I say now, it'll be funny because it's the rule of three. So you will, knowing these means that you have a greater potential for finding potentially funny situations within, and now it's a myriad, 12 different ways that something can be funny. So any situation, you might be able to apply one of these structures, and you'll be a better funny man for it, or funny woman.
Yeah, it's getting your brain ticking in that way, I think. Helps to get your brain ticking in that way rather than just randomly attempting.
Yeah, that's right. And if you're lucky, you'll create completely original stuff that has never been seen before and never been thought funny. But very few things are completely new under the sun. It's usually when they've invented something, it's they don't quite know their history well enough. You speak to somebody steeped in the thing, they will go, oh, it's like a combination of, it's like George Carl combined with sports theme, or whatever, about what I do.
Yeah, right. It brings to mind that when I was studying music, the guitar teacher teaching improvisation, the first thing he did was write up a definition of improvisation, which was simultaneous rearrangement of existing material.
Okay.
And it kind of is. Like, even if you improvise with words, you have to use words. You can only move in a certain amount of directions, or you know, you're always working with something. It's mostly micro improvisations or rearrangements or using patterns and applying them to other things, which is what creativity, I suppose, is.
Yeah. No, you're rearranging stuff that's already there, and creativity is also then applying two things that don't quite necessarily you didn't think they belonged together, and then you see how they do, and then that can be a new invention or completely new idea, or a new act.
Yeah.
Very good. I like it. That was a very fun conversation.
It's great to chat with someone about it, because like I do try and chat with people about it, but they don't have much attention span. Like that's why I need the examples. They sort of like people are so like, when people tell you something, this can spoil comedy for people as well. You have to be careful. You don't, because some people will always tell you that, oh, you wouldn't believe what happened in this movie, and then once you realize this, you realize that it's just the content and the subjects and the details which actually matter, that make new things. But essentially, like, someone will tell you a joke and you go, well, that's a pretty funny fish out of water.
Yeah, that's a good use of that one. And then they get angry because you're belittling them by unique experience fits into a category.
Yeah, but I mean, I suppose it's because entertainers, we like in your podcast, it's viewing. This is very much related to viewing the world through a showman's lens.
Yeah, it's like you're looking at comedy and finding tools to be able to create it and to better express yourself through comedy. Knowing these things, you go. And it's the same with magic too, like we talked about before, is that you have vanishing production, and then you might then have transportation, but that isn't or teleportation. That's in the sense that it disappears and produces it, and over there again, that's a similar too. But so you go, is teleportation actually a thing, or is this just the mode? Is it and then people might go, oh, this is so boring, or the 7 plots. Oh, they just go through, as I wrote those down somewhere here, like the overcoming the monster, the quest, voyage and return, rags to riches, comedy, tragedy, rebirth. That's the 7 plots from that book called The 7 Plots. And as soon as you start to look at that, you go, oh, this could be everything. But each situation is, of course, you live through it, and we're just looking at these patterns. And that's why I always like to use the sort of terms, because people can always go with philosophy, which is this is a philosophy of comedy, like you're looking at it as like you're trying to structure it a little bit, and people can find it offensive, just like they don't always like it when they see my act the second time, and they realize some people go, oh, it's the same. Yeah, and people get disappointed because they feel like I tricked them.
Yeah.
Whilst performers and other people, then, because the first time you see it, you see the art of it, and then the second time when you see it, you see the craft. Then you go, man, this is so amazing. And then some people, then they say, oh, I love to watch it again and again, and then I love to go again with someone else, and I find that I am looking at my friends or looking at the other audiences, because now I'm looking forward to this thing, and I want to see what happens to them when this thing happens or whatever. Yeah,
it's really true. It's like once you know the rules, it doesn't necessarily spoil your appreciation of.
No, but this is Yeats, the poet, romantic British poet, who wrote the poem. I think it's Yeats. Should have this in my head, but he wrote a poem about unweaving the rainbow, saying that Newton kind of unwove the rainbow. By now you know what it is. It's the breaking of the light in the thing, and the going, and then now you've just killed the mystery or whatever. Yet those who know, like the magic trick, it takes a certain form of initiation to be able to appreciate it. Because the reason why a magic trick is always funny when you see it, if you see the explanation of it, is because the secret of a magic trick is always disappointing. The magic trick in itself, the effect is beautiful, and the secret is so banal. It's it's just funny when it happens. But if you're properly initiated into it, and I am now interested in magic, then I can see the method and I go, oh my God. And I don't laugh. I go, that is so clever, because you don't think in those directions. And I see it, and I truly see that thing. And even though it is just a rubber band and a magnet, even though that's just what it is, I go, you can really appreciate it. But it is a little bit like a sort of ugly child that's what Jim Steinmeier says. A magician is a man, or is a person, is someone who's guarding an empty safe. Because they have the magic and it's put inside there, but when you open the safe, there's just 10 paper clips and one extra ball. And when you thought there was one, there was actually 2 balls. Like, that's all you have. But you guard it not because it's so amazing, but because it is so unamazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So these structures, I think it's really important, and it can take your appreciation away. But I am a lover of philosophy, and I find thinking about what I do immensely rewarding. And when you sent me that voice message, I thought this is just a great conversation to have, to talk about jokes. And it's very practical too. You can use it in your everyday work.
It's super fun to just go through a routine you know well, or a movie you know well, and to try and put the jokes into these boxes just to reveal a bit about how they're functioning.
Very good advice. Well, Gareth, it's been a pleasure talking to you. I'll see you soon.
See you, mate.
And there we go. We get to the end of a 3-hour exploration of the ingredients of comedy. I hope you found that as fun as I did. Just before I let you go, you can buy a t-shirt to support us, and you can sport that amazing logo on the front, radiating depth and meaning to the world as you go around the world. You can find it at thewayoftheshowman.printdrop.com.au, or you can just look in the show notes where you can click on a link and it takes you directly there. It'd be amazing if you could share our existence on your social media, or tell a friend live in person. That would be even more amazing. Why not even write a letter to somebody and tell them about it? That would blow their mind. When was the last time you got a letter telling them about some incredible thing? This would be amazing. So that's all I have to say for this time. And until next time, take care of yourself, those you love, and I hope to see you along the way.